an argument straight out of a reality TV show.
We gave you through this stupid president, if you didn't have our military equipment.
The accusation that Donald Trump is a Russian agent, codename Krasnov. 40 years ago, Trump was identified and cultivated as a Russian asset. Apart from this, he talks about buying Gaza in Palestine. They are asking for their wealth, half their resources, in exchange for protection, threatening other countries, blackmailing them, talking about stealing their resources. Hello, friends. 28th February 2025. In the White House, a meeting was held between the American President Donald Trump and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance attended the meeting too, as well as several media representatives. Everything was being broadcasted live through the cameras. The White House chefs were setting up food for the guests. Meanwhile, this meeting was unprecedented in modern diplomatic history. You're gambling with World War III. This meeting turns into an argument straight out of a reality TV show. This meeting has now been written in the pages of history, because now global geopolitics and the world order of our world is going to change. The richest oligarch of the world, Elon Musk, said that America should withdraw from the United Nations and NATO. USA has already exited the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Agreement, and under Trump, America is getting closer to its decades-long enemy, Russia. The situation has gotten so bad that some people are accusing Donald Trump of being Putin's undercover agent. How will it impact the world? First, let's understand the background of this situation. On 24th February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. That was the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine war. When people hear the word war, some assume that it means two sides fighting over something, but it's not always so. This was a one-sided invasion. Ukraine went to war only to defend itself, but Russia went to war to grab its land and resources. To hide this real reason, Putin used other excuses. At times, he said that the expansion of NATO was a threat to Russia. Other times, he claimed that there are neo-Nazis in Ukraine and Russia was fighting to eliminate them. All lies, merely Russian propaganda. The real reason was colonialism. At the beginning of this invasion, Russian forces advanced rapidly. They captured the northern and eastern parts of Ukraine. In response, America, European countries, and many of their allies came together to support Ukraine. Global-level sanctions were imposed on Russia, and these countries started sending weapons to Ukraine. Ukrainian forces fought bravely, and with the help of these Western allies, Ukraine was quite successful in pushing back Russia by September 2022. But after this, the war entered into a stalemate. Look at the map. This shows the areas controlled by Ukraine and Russia in September 2022. Today, the control over these areas remain largely unchanged. The war has been going on for the past 3 years. A large number of people have died on both sides, but Ukraine is unable to regain total control over its territory. But neither is Russia able to take over the remaining Ukrainian territories. Over the last 3 years, the strategy of the US and European has been that they won't interfere in this war directly. They won't send their soldiers. Rather, to help Ukraine defend itself, they were willing to provide weapons and money to Ukraine and impose sanctions on Russia. This has been Ukraine's and Western allies' position, that they won't back out of this war until Ukraine wins back all its territories, to go back to the state before the war. And then in 2024, there were presidential elections in America, and Donald Trump came into power. Right in his election campaign, Trump had promised that as soon as he'd become the president,
I pledge to swiftly end the war in Ukraine. So when I say end it, you can get that. I will have that settlement done within 24 hours.
He would stop the Russia-Ukraine war within a day. And now, he wants to stop this war at any cost. To discuss this, a meeting was held between Trump and Zelensky. Ukraine said that it isn't enjoying this war, but they want a guarantee that if they stop fighting now, Russia won't attack their country after the ceasefire, and to this extent, they want guarantees and securities from America. But Donald Trump wants to ignore this question. On the other hand, Trump told Ukraine that since the U.S. has been giving them a lot of money and weapons, Ukraine should give them 50% of the revenue from its natural resources. I am not joking.
That's a big deal.
This is the actual plan proposed by Donald Trump to Ukraine. The oil, gas, contracts, ports, infrastructure, every bit of Ukraine's natural resources, Trump wants half of it to be handed over to America. This is the same sort of deal that East India Company carried out in India. The Telegraph described this deal as the economic colonization of Ukraine. The Economist even said that Trump is asking for protection money like the mafia. They're asking Ukraine to give them half of its wealth if it wants the U.S. to protect it. Obviously, no smart politician won't give up half of his country's resources to someone else. So Zelensky refused to sign the initial agreement. Generations of Ukrainians. In response, Donald Trump got angry. He started calling Zelensky
Dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast because
a dictator publicly. In his social media posts, he said that Zelensky better move fast or he is not going to have a country left. It was after this that Zelensky went to the White House to meet Donald Trump and to discuss the minerals deal. And thus, the meeting took place on the 28th of February. Everything was in front of the cameras and broadcasted live. The meeting went on well enough for the first half an hour. After that, the situation began changing. Zelensky said that Putin had violated the ceasefire 25 times. He asked if Putin could be trusted. If Ukraine stops fighting now, it's possible that Russia would attack again in a few years.
Will not never work. Before my presidency, from the 2014, Putin broken 25 times. His own signature, 25 times he broke.
Trump had no answer to this. All he said was that Putin has not broken any agreement with him. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance chimed in that the path to peace will be paved through diplomacy. In response, Zelensky started counting all the incidents when Putin and Russia violated the ceasefire agreements.
During 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed.
It's important to point out a historical fact here. At one point, friends, Ukraine was the third largest nuclear power in the world. They had numerous nuclear weapons. But in 1994, it became the only country to voluntarily give up its nuclear weapons. This was executed by the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, signed by Russia, the USA, and the UK. They acknowledged that Ukraine was giving up its weapons, but in case of any aggression against Ukraine by any country, then these three countries would protect Ukraine. Obviously, this agreement is of no use today because Putin's Russia has invaded Ukraine, and now the USA is backing out from helping them. That's why Zelensky asked Vance, what did he mean by diplomacy?
Kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about. What do you mean?
At this point, J.D. Vance started getting angry, accusing Zelensky of being disrespectful to the president in front of the American media.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
Zelensky said that if America doesn't stop Putin, then one day they might have to face the same problem. On this, Trump got angry. Trump told him not to be concerned about the U.S. because Ukraine is in a terrible position right now, accusing him of gambling with the lives of his citizens and being disrespectful towards the U.S.
I'm not telling you.
because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
Like a kid, J.D. Vance asked Zelensky if he ever thanked the U.S., whereas in this same meeting, Zelensky had thanked them at least 10 times.
You said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today,
have you said thank you?
Times. Trump and Vance stooped down to threaten him.
Cards right now. With us, you start having
Not playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III.
In this meeting, a reporter posed a question to Trump. What will happen if Russia violates the ceasefire? Trump gave a nonsensical answer to this question. Calling is whataboutery. He asked what would happen if a bomb dropped on the reporter's head.
What if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if the bomb drops on your head?
Such baseless arguments are shown in TV shows like Roadies or Big Boss. But here, the U.S. president was resorting to such arguments. They made it a joke.
It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. You're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
When Zelensky finally starts answering, Trump dismissed the media personnel. After a while, Zelensky was asked to leave the White House. The mineral deal wasn't signed, and the food prepared by the chefs for both presidents remained untouched. After the meeting, Trump took to social media to say that Zelensky wasn't ready for peace, and that he insulted America in the Oval Office, and that he can return only when he is ready for peace. In response, Zelensky tweeted that in which he thanked America sarcastically multiple times. After this, many European leaders tweeted in Zelensky's support, and Zelensky responded by thanking them all. The truth is, Trump's aggression against Zelensky began a few weeks ago. During Joe Biden's tenure as the U.S. president, Ukraine was getting unconditional support. But as soon as Trump became president, he held a meeting of the U.S. and Russian officials in Saudi Arabia to talk about Ukraine, but Ukraine wasn't invited or involved in it. This conference reminds us of the 1945 Yalta Conference, where the fate of small European countries was decided by the U.S., the Soviet Union, and Britain without their input. While Biden administration's approach had always been nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. After that, on the 24th of February, 2025, during a vote on a resolution against Russia at the United Nations General Assembly, we witnessed something truly shocking. While on one hand, countries all across the world had voted either in support of Ukraine or chose to remain neutral, on the other hand, America for the first time joined Russia and North Korea to vote against Ukraine. This was perhaps the first time in 100 years when the U.S. and Russia were on the same side of a United Nations vote, with most of the countries on the other side. Unsurprisingly, the question arises, why is Trump doing this? It's said that there are two main reasons behind this. First is Trump's dislike of Zelensky, and the second is Trump's Russian connection. Yup, that's right. There are accusations that Donald Trump is a Russian agent, codename Krasnov. In 2019, the American Parliament had impeached Trump for involving foreign powers in U.S. elections. Trump was accused of trying to get Ukraine's help to win the election. Back then, Trump had tried to pressure Zelensky to have the Ukrainian government investigate Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was on the board of a Ukrainian energy company, which was being investigated in Ukraine. During the Obama administration, when Joe Biden was the vice president, his influence resulted in Ukraine's prosecutor general to be removed on charges of corruption, after which this investigation into Hunter Biden's company stopped. But around 2019, Trump had called Zelensky to ask why was the investigation stopped and to resume the investigation. Even then, to blackmail Zelensky, Trump had stopped millions of dollars worth of military aid. Although the U.S. did help Ukraine later, but only after repeated requests of Zelensky's government. When this came to light, Trump was impeached. The biggest story is the impeachment of President Donald Trump. Trump blamed Zelensky for his impeachment. This was the first reason, but the second reason is much more interesting. There's a Russian investigative agency, KGB. A former KGB major, Yuri Shvets, was posted in Washington in the 1980s. He claims that 40 years ago, Trump was identified and cultivated as a Russian asset. This 2021 article from The Guardian claimed that some people were recruited when they were merely students. Later, they moved on to occupy important positions. Trump was allegedly one of them. Yuri said that Trump came under the radar of Russian intelligence in 1977 when he married his first wife, Ivana Zelnichkova. She was a Czech model, and since then Trump has been targeted by Czechoslovakia and KGB. 3 years later, Donald Trump inaugurated the Grand Hyatt New York Hotel and bought 200 television sets from Semyon Kislin. He was working as a spotter agent for the KGB. He was the one who identified Trump as a potential asset. As per this claim, Trump was given the code name Krasnov. After this, in 1987, Trump and Ivana went to Moscow and St. Petersburg for the first time. And according to Yuri, this was when the KGB carried out a charm offensive. Trump was given KGB's talking points, he was showered with praises, and was told that he should go into politics. This Russian agency told him that he would definitely become the U.S. president one day. Immediately after returning to the U.S., Trump printed full-page advertisements in the U.S. newspapers questioning U.S.'s foreign policy. Immediately after this, he started looking for presidential nomination options. This was when he became interested and he wanted to enter politics. He wanted to become the president. During the years 2000 to 2012, before the 2016 elections, Trump tried twice to participate in the presidential elections. And in 2016, when he won the presidential election for the first time and became the president, Russia was accused of running propaganda to ensure Trump's victory. Many U.S. government investigations gave irrefutable evidence that Russia interfered in the 2016 U.S. elections, which helped Trump win. Russian troll farms spent a large amount of money on Facebook and Instagram ads. We can talk about the cyber attacks and bot armies as a separate topic. Earlier, these claims were often dismissed as conspiracy theories. But in 2025, after Trump became the president once again, he is clearly aligning with Russian interests. People have now started questioning this. For example, look at this tweet by the Twitter handle Anonymous. It's an AI-generated photo of Trump as Putin's dog. During the first month of his second presidency, Trump was documented siding with Putin 29 distinct times. But that was America's internal politics. But the problem is that now Trump is becoming a threat to the rest of the world. And the reason is neo-colonialism. The sort of exploitative minerals deal that was handed to Ukraine, Trump has exhibited similar outlook towards the rest of the world too. Donald Trump has even talked about taking over the territories of other countries. Sometimes he talks about buying Greenland. And I also have a message
Tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We need it really for the international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. He has also talked about establishing American control over the Panama Canal. Trump has also made jokes about colonizing Canada, saying that it will become America's 51st state. I said then, Canada should be our 51st state. Apart from this, he talks about buying Gaza in Palestine. His solution to the Israel-Palestine war is to displace 2 million Palestinians from Gaza, to relocate them in another country to build 5-star hotels in Gaza, and to have luxury cars on Gaza's streets.
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As a real estate development for the future, it would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
No.
Committed to buying and owning Gaza. As a real estate development for the future, it would be a beautiful piece of land. Would the Palestinians have a right to return? No big money spent? No, they wouldn't. Trump had also shared this tasteless video on his official Twitter account, showing his dream for Gaza, renaming Gaza to Trump Gaza, with his gold statues all around. If we talk about renaming, Trump has renamed Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. The arrogance and ego with which he is running his government, analysts have named it as bullying diplomacy, threatening other countries, blackmailing them, talking about taking their resources or talking about colonizing and invading them. Such an approach might give them short-term victories against weaker countries, but America is sowing the seeds of its own failure. According to this article in the Foreign Policy magazine, titled The Bad Economics of Bullying, this approach of bullying is detrimental for America because the bully pushes away the one he bullies. This is how Trump is behaving today towards America's old allies. He talks about imposing tariffs against European countries as well as India.
Your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one.
You don't make your product in America. However, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff. In some cases, a rather large one. They are threatening and blackmailing other countries for every little thing. And if the country doesn't bend to their will, they want to impose tariffs against it. You can clearly see how this will harm the U.S. in the long term. When the other countries see that this is how the USA is treating its allies, there would be unity among the dissenting nations. After this incident involving Zelensky, the European Union, France, Germany, the UK, Ireland, Canada, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, the Netherlands, Poland, Spain, Italy, and many other countries can be seen joining forces. A new consensus is forming in Europe that Europe cannot depend on the USA anymore. There are demands to boycott American companies. There are even talks about establishing a European Union-wide army. Some countries are coming up with new strategies to tolerate Trump. One such strategy is strategic evasion, pretending to agree with Trump and then keep avoiding it. After World War II, while America had emerged as a superpower, various global institutions were established like the United Nations and the World Health Organization. In it, America played a leading role. Today, America's relevance is gradually diminishing. That is why, geopolitically, a vacuum is being created. Who will lead these international institutions now? The bigger countries need to show leadership here, because the world cannot be bullied like this. We need a stronger international cooperation. Countries like China and India have the best opportunity. India has an especially unique opportunity here. India can present itself as a reliable partner, as an alternative to America. Due to the tradition of strategic autonomy and non-alignment, today, India is in a position where we can get the global front seat. Diverse economic partnerships should be established with all Asian, African, and South American countries. This isn't just an opportunity, but also a responsibility of every good country, of every good leader, to protect the smaller countries. Because if this doesn't happen, this neo-colonialism will destroy the smaller countries worldwide and lead us on the path of World War III. I hope you learned something from this video.